Okie dokie, here we are. So, I want to talk about social media 101, the basics. It's free exposure. I think this is one of the biggest issues today with social media is that, people freak out, especially in the business world, because I can't tell you how many people I've worked with over the years, and I would say 75% or more of businesses or individuals that are professionals don't believe social media does anything for them, and they have no presence. And if they do have presence, it's lame presence. Lame meaning it's just not effective, and there are many reasons for that. So again, my name is Todd. I run a creative services business, and I try to make it accessible to everybody. I am providing well over 30 years of experience working with businesses of all shapes and sizes, but my real niche, my real specialty is trying to work with people that have a hard time getting there. I am not intending to compete with larger agencies, although I deliver the same exact stuff, if not more, than many of those agencies. I try to work with small startup companies. I try to work with companies that have a hard time or lack the budget to go with the real bigwigs. I love working with churches and volunteer organizations and places that just don't have the budget or the time or the relationships with these agencies. I love what I do. I do what I love, and providing creative services and ideas to the world market, to especially again to the little guys and gals in the world, the little companies, the small to medium businesses, the startups, the individuals. I also do mentoring and coaching and Zen training and martial arts training and wellness training and spiritual training. A lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. But I want to focus here on this particular topic, social media basics, because that's the other thing I like to do too. Is I like to help people take the first step. I like to get people started and get their feet wet. There's just a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of good stuff too. I don't want to trash the good stuff, because there is a heck of a lot of really good stuff out there. But I want to make it simple. I want to make it easy, because let's face it, none of us have the time or the patience to deal with a lot of the nonsense that's out there. So let me talk a little bit about social media, and I'm going to try to do this vocally as well as visually, because I have a video version of this that I want to show, and it will have some examples, but I'll try to walk you through it if you're listening to the podcast, because that's going to be important too. So let's get started and talk a little bit about social media. There are different types of social media. Okay, so we have social media has a personal aspect and a professional aspect to it. I really want to emphasize the professional part of it more so than personal, because as far as social media goes, it is what it is, right? It's something that you either enjoy or you don't enjoy. It's just like anything in life. You might enjoy taking walks. You might enjoy running or playing soccer or hockey or tennis or football or whatever it is. That's what we do in life. We find something we enjoy. We find something we're really passionate about, and we just do it. We always have since we were little kids, right? So that's the personal part of social media. It's fun. It's for family. It's for friends. It's for networking. If you want to create some kind of a network of friends and family. Okay, it's social. That's why they call it social media, because it is media and it is social. It's supposed to be social. It's for events and birthdays. You want to keep up with that kind of stuff. That's the premise of the personal. And then, of course, there are the various channels, which I'll go over too. I mean, there's so many social media channels. Used to be a long time ago, used to be Facebook and MySpace. So MySpace was actually really popular until it fell apart. And there are many too. There's, Vines. I don't know if many of you millennials remember Vine, but Vine was another one that's a lot like TikTok today. So just like everything in life, there used to be a store called Sears that everybody knew about, and they closed down. Toys R Us, popular toy store, closed down. Things change. Things change in life. Same with social media. They're constantly on the cutting edge of creating new stuff and new social media platforms, including Donald Trump's Truth Social. That's another new one. Everyone likes Twitter for different reasons, now called X. Some people like Truth Social, some people don't. And then there are the big ones, Facebook, Instagram, what else would I say? TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. For me, what I want to cover today, though, professionally speaking, will be primarily LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, because those are really popular and they do really well. So let me talk a little bit more about that. Now, Personal stuff, I already covered that. Because in the personal realm, you open a Facebook account, you keep up with your family and friends, you network, you keep it social, you worry about events and birthdays and see what your cousin Henry's doing and yada yada. And yeah, I just love the new car you got. You can make jokes. It can be a lot of fun. That's the personal side. It can also be fun on the professional side too. But here's the key with social media on the professional front. The professional front is brand exposure. That's really, really important because what you're doing is exposing your business, product, or service to a professional marketplace. And let me take LinkedIn, for example. They're all free. I just want to say this again and get this across that it's free. It's 100% free. There used to be a time when we had to pay for multiple ads for advertising, newspaper ads, magazine ads. We'd have to pay for the yellow pages. It was so expensive to get exposure. This is free exposure to a network of people. And there are a lot of people on these social media networks. They're constantly on their devices. Even if you're not, I got bad news for you, friend. Everybody else is. Most of the world, even in third world countries, are on social media. That's what they use to communicate with. And you have to get that through your mind. You have to understand that. And it's really, really important. So the professional aspect of social media, let's take LinkedIn, for example, that you have brand exposure. It's a great way to expose your brand. I'm going to show you some examples of that in a little bit, talk a little bit more about that. But you're going to have your logo, you're going to have your mission statement, you're going to have your services, your website, your contact information, all out there to potentially thousands and thousands of people that you connect with to see what you're doing. Okay, you also have community building. You're building a community of people that can work with you and grow. Fan building, you're building a tremendous fan base because as you grow, and I'll talk about this later too, but there's a right way to do social media work and there's much less effective ways of doing social media work. And what I mean by that is that you don't just follow anybody, you want to follow people that kind of fit your standards and fit your business. And there's more on that later, and there's other videos and podcasts on that. Okay, but I wanted to just mention the fan building. We're building a fan base. Think of yourself as like, pretend your business is like you're a cool rock band or a cool country band or pop band or whatever you want to be. Pretend you're famous and you're going to have a concert. And your concert is what you do. It's your product or service. And you want fans to buy tickets to come see you. That's basically what you're trying to do here, okay? Oh dear. Sorry, that's kind of weird. Got a cough. Jeez, sorry about that. Yeah, inhaled my coffee the wrong way. Anyway, you have communication. You have let me talk about communication. So communication, that's you communicating with your fans, your customers, your followers, your friends. You're communicating with them. And you have a way that you can communicate back and forth with each other. Okay, then there's conversion. Conversion's big with social media too because, and I'll show you this later, where you're building this community, you're building your fan base, and you're talking regularly to customers, and they convert over to a customer, a paying customer. That's ideally what you want to do, okay? But here's the deal. Just like with personal social media, you also have fun. It's a social environment and you can build friendships very much so on social media with professional too. Okay, so those are the keys there with professional. And remember, the keys here are it's free, okay? And we want to get your brand exposure over there. Okay, so that's social media there. Let me talk a little bit about a successful social media campaign. Okay, I'm going to cover some of the basics here with social media success. Now, the key to social media success is, again, I've said branding 1,000 times. Branding is really important. Branding is your personality. Let's start with you as a person. You have a brand. Look down at yourself. What are you wearing for shoes, for pants, for a shirt? How you take care of your body, your skin, your face, your hair. You have your own brand. What you are as a person. What you're created to have, what talents you have, all that stuff is part of your personal brand. And then there's your business, your professional brand, or even the part of the brand that you're working within your company. Meaning if you're a vice president or you're a CFO, CEO, whatever, you offer a certain personal brand to that company. But then you talk about the company brand. The company brand is really, really important because um, it is, like I say to people, like Nike, you add a little swish decal to a $2 piece of cloth and it becomes a $40 t-shirt. That's branding. Okay. Everyone's well aware of big hotel chains like Marriott. Like Marriott is like, one of the major hotel brands, right? You know when you're in a Marriott. Now, if Nike opened up a hotel, it would be a whole different marketing plan, right? And I don't think that Nike would operate a hotel very well because that's not their brand. So branding is the look, the feel, every single possible thing about your company, business, product, or service, or whatever, is branding. Everything from the logo to how you answer the phone to how you respond to people to your signage to your website, marketing efforts, everything is branding, branding, branding. So social media, you want to maintain a good, tight brand structure. That's really important so you maintain that quality. Otherwise, you start to look like a cheap garbage brand that people will stop following you. Trust me, they will. Quality, that also goes hand in hand with quality. You want to have quality posts. You want to have a quality social media platform. It's important to take the time to do it right because people recognize that. It's the difference between going into a schlocky old yard sale that just is just full of trash and it's really hard to find things versus a good quality business. So you want to keep your posts of quality. Consistency. You want to be consistent. Social media posting is really, really important for your business, for your product or your service. And it should be consistent. It should be done regularly without fail. And I can talk later about that, but it's so hugely important. Remember, it's free. But once you get into the grind, once you get into the routine of doing consistent posts, you'll get noticed more because people are always on their devices. They're always scrolling. They're always kicking around on social media platforms, and they want to be exposed to lots of stuff. And you want that stuff to show up in front of them. So if I have 4 people on social media at 4 different times of the day, and you do a post in the morning and late morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, you're going to have all those different people seeing your posts throughout the day. So it's consistent. Think about it again. It's like running an ad once in a while or running a free ad, which is free exposure, free social media post, as much as you want. You could do as many as 12 a day and do really well. Most people don't do that. And if they do it for a short time because they lack consistency and discipline. Saturation is really important because you want to saturate your social media accounts with your stuff, with your wares, because you're building a following. People, let's take, for example, you find a social media channel that you really like. Let's say it's Walmart.com because you like to buy cheap stuff at Walmart, okay, and you want to see what's going on. You're going to rely on those posts because that's where you're going to get your information from. If they stop saturating it and you don't see it, guess what? You're going to find somebody else. You're going to jump ship. Happens all the time, and it happens very, very quickly. So that's why I go over to what I call the 5-10-20 rule. The 5-10-20 rule is saying, look, at the very least, start with 5 posts a week, and that's 1 post per day for 5 days. Don't post on weekends unless it's personal, but for professionals, try not to post on weekends. It doesn't really get the same amount of exposure. It's not going to hurt if you have nothing better to do on weekends and you want to do posting, you can. Start with 5, 1 a day for 5 days during the week, and then work your way up to 10, which is 2 per day, and then work yourself up to 20, right? Because you want to do, let's say, 4 posts a day. That's 4, 8, 12. Yeah, that's 20. It's 20 a week. Try to focus on that. And what I do is I work with companies where I will work with interns, high school students, college students to help me do this for my clients. I work on a lot of the creative. I oversee it all, but then I'll hand it off to students that want to get into communications and marketing, and they'll handle some of my social media marketing, and I'll pay them short money to do it, but it's good money for them. And I also, because I try to provide fair, good, reasonable, creative services to people. Remember, that's important. That's super important for me anyway. And part of doing that is giving back and trying to work with youngsters trying to grow up in this competitive marketplace. But anyway, I'll give that to them, and I'll write, for example, 20. If we got into a budget where you have a certain amount of money you're willing to spend to do social media, again, even if it's short money, whatever it's going to take to get exposure with quality and consistency. Well, let's say it's 20 posts. I'll write 20 different posts. I'll incorporate meta tags. I'll incorporate hashtags, metadata, all that stuff to make sure that, more on that later, but there's stuff you can do to enhance your posts. And that's the 5-10-20 rule. Walking versus running. Let's put it this way. You could do a race. You could do a what do I want to say here? A marathon. Okay, let's do a 5K marathon. You can finish the marathon by walking, or you could win the marathon by running. And there are different levels of runners. There's professional runners versus amateur runners. But you'll get to the finish line sooner by running versus walking. And it's the same way with social media success, because you can walk. You could certainly walk and do a post now and then, and you might get maybe a couple people interested here or there. But I'm telling you, if you run with social media and you really, really commit to it, you're going to finish the race much, much better. You will become a winner much, 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 much more better than just walking. And then I'll end with social media success with the word branding, again, with an exclamation point, because it's so important to maintain branding. I've seen people that go off the branding path and they don't use the right logos. They don't use the right graphics. They just don't do it right. They don't do it well. And it starts to look lousy. It just falls apart. You have to have brand consistency. And so I'm going to emphasize branding again. Okay. So these are keys for social media success. I think next what I want to talk about are the primary ones, primary social media platforms. Okay, again, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and then we have LinkedIn here. Okay, so actually, I do want to talk quick about something. Google Ads offers a keyword planner that you can use to create key meta tags and key hashtags and keywords or whatever. And they have a great Google Ads keyword planner, which you can use, that helps you. There's a lot of tools and apps out there, and there's a lot of AI tools now that exist to help you generate really good keywords and hashtags. Those can be really important. But let me go back to the primary three. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, and Instagram. So what I want to do is show, I'm going to create an example of doing a post. Okay, so I'm going to walk through that, and I'll do it vocally as well as visually. Let me minimize this for a second, and let me bring up, let's see here. Let me do a social media post to show you on a water video that I did years ago. Okay, and they're ideas I had on conserving water. I do a lot of short video and commercial videos, special event videos, historical videos, short films, stuff like that. But this is one I did years ago. And it's about water. So let me show you an example of creating a LinkedIn post we'll do here on water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a proper graphic. In every social media platform, let me go back here, we'll have different sizes for posts. Okay, so here are some posts I did in Facebook, and you can see there you can pretty much post anything, any size, but there are ideal sizes. So like in LinkedIn, for example, they have a very consistent size, look, and feel to them. And so I have here in Photoshop, I'm going to create a 1200 by 627 pixel graphic, because that's pretty much the common size for social media posts, especially in LinkedIn. And then I'm going to drag in a piece of art here, and I want to create an example of a social media post artwork here. This won't take me long. So I'm dragging in a photo, a piece of art that I created, and I want to call this, let's do something fun here. Water. Let's see. Let's come up with a color, a good bright color. Thumbnails and backgrounds and graphics, but let's call them thumbnails, are really, really important with social media. Clickbait, super, super important, especially when you go over to YouTube and you want to do YouTube videos. People see this stuff pretty regularly, okay? So let's do water. I wrote some text also about this post here. Imagine life with no water. We each have the power of imagination, able to help others and care for the place we all live. Please watch and engage. Now, this is a social media post on LinkedIn. Let me help you develop your own reels to communicate what's important to you. And then here's a link to my website. And now here's some hashtags that I'm plugging in too. And I've already done some research, and these are actually really popular hashtags, and that will help me get visibility and exposure to this water video. So what I want to do is imagine life with no water. Actually, I like that one. I'm going to use that. So I'm going to go over back into Photoshop, and instead of just saying water, I'm going to change the headline to imagine life with no water. Let me arrow over and do a return. I'm going to make this size, because again, I have to talk you through it for people that aren't watching the video instead of just listening to the podcast. I'm basically creating a graphic in Photoshop, and that's going to be the thumbnail, the post. Okay, so I'm doing imagine life with no water, and then I'll say watch video. And then I'm going to change the color to black. The background here, for those of you that can't see it, is sort of a water drop with the earth in it, with a water backdrop. And again, we're trying to make it so that it's easy for people to see it and want to engage in it. Okay, so there. So there's the thumbnail. Imagine life with no water. Now I don't want to make it too big, because if it's too large, it won't upload. So I'm actually just going to do a screen capture of it, and there. So now I will minimize that. That is the graphic that I'm going to use, and I'm going to put it over here on the screen here, and I'm going to say imagine life with no water. I'm just going to name it the same. I'm going to drag that over here to the side. Okay. So now this is an example of how I might do a social media post. Oop, we don't want to do that one. That's our email. I want to show that. There's no need for that. Let me go back over here. Okay, here's LinkedIn. Let's do a LinkedIn post. Okay, so I have my profile set up in LinkedIn, and it's important that you have on all of your social media platforms that you have your profile set up. This one happens to be Todd Zen. This is sort of my martial arts and wellness social media profile, where I actually do exercises and wellness videos and things like that. But nonetheless, it's important to have your profile set up so when people do the research, here I am with on Facebook, you have a profile, innovative ideas, blah, blah, blah. It has your website, phone number, and all that kind of stuff. This is where I'll do that. But let me jump over to LinkedIn. Has my branding, my logo, my contact information, and all that kind of stuff set up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the text that I created here, including the hashtags, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to create a post, start a post, and I'm going to plug it in here like this. Okay. Now it's going to recommend a graphic based on my website here, but I don't want that, so I'm going to X out of that, and then I'm going to go to the link. I have a link to my video that I created, and I'm going to paste that in after my hashtags like this. And okay, so instead of this graphic that's popping up, I'm going to add the graphic that I just created, right? Imagine life with no water. So I'm going to do this. See, and that's the graphic, and you can do some work on it, but I'm going to go next. And there it is. So there's the graphic. Okay. Now I don't want to compete. Often what happens, especially in LinkedIn, is you have competing URLs. Okay. So I don't want to do that, because sometimes there are glitches, and I want people to watch this video. It's important to me that they watch the video, not to necessarily contact me or go to my website. I can say this though: visit my website at mitchellcreativegroup.com for more. But then I have this link over here, and that's it. See this hyperlink right here, this YouTube? That will show up as a LinkedIn a LinkedIn link later on. So those of you that can't see it, we have the description in place, we have the hashtags in place, and we have the URL link to do the post. So then we simply click. Actually, I'm going to copy this, and I'll tell you why in a second. I'll copy all that. And then I'm going to post like so. So now it's doing it does its checks. If it sees any errors, it'll tell you. Usually it's not a problem, but sometimes it'll tell you something. Post successful. Tells me post successful. And that's it. So see, there it is right there. See, there's a LinkedIn post. And what happens is, see, the hashtags are there. That's important. They actually hyperlinked my my URL there, which is good. But that's it. That's the link in LinkedIn. Now, ideally, I want to do 4 of these a day, if not more. Ideally, maybe 6 to 8 posts a day. And as you can see, a lot of people are out here. So this is part 1. The second part to social media is going out there and looking for people and following people, following organizations. Why is that important? Because the more people you find that might relate to what it is you're doing, the more people you're going to reach. And these are qualified leads. These are people that may love what you do. And you start building connections. You can actually start doing messaging. I delete my messages, but you can send messages to people here and communicate with people. Okay. So let me give you an example. So New England Journal of Medicine. New England Journal of Medicine is a great, wonderful client of mine. I love working with them. So let me look at New England Journal of Medicine. You can start to look for organizations and places that might appeal to you and your business. And I want to do, there's people, posts that they do, or I want more people. So let me look through this. And there's Kathy Mai. Okay, she's awesome. Marketing manager. She's wonderful. And I'm not connected to her yet. So I'm going to connect. So I connect. And I'm going to add a note. Send without note is fine, but I like to personalize it. I'll say, hi, Kathy. Hope all is well with you. And then I will send her that note. There, pending. And that's how you build connections in LinkedIn. Okay, and that's how you do basic posts. Now, the reason I copied the text from this particular post is because I want to go over to another one. I like to recycle. So what I'm going to do now is go over to Facebook. And again, I'm in my professional profile here, not my personal. And again, I want to start here and I want to do a post in my business account. Okay. And I want to do the same thing over in Instagram too. Now, Instagram is a little bit different because it's actually easier to do it on your phone than it is to do it online here. But in fact, I won't do it. I won't go through that here because I don't want to waste the podcast listeners' time by doing this here because you can't see what I'm doing. But basically what I want to do is recycle the information I used on my LinkedIn post and do the same thing on other platforms. So if I'm in Facebook, I want to, create another, do another post and add the same material that I did from my LinkedIn post. Okay, so that's primarily the objective of recycling. Okay, so that would be how I would engage with LinkedIn, with Facebook, and Instagram. So what I'll do, by the way, is I will use my phone and log into my social media accounts. I'm actually going to share. Let me go back here. I'm going to share this graphic that I just created with you. The thumbnail. I'm going to share that on my phone, and then right from my phone, I'm going to go to my social media and do those posts. That's what I normally do. I might create a dozen or more social media posts a day, and then I'll share them with my phone so that when I'm standing in line, when I'm just hanging out somewhere, I'm waiting for phone calls, I'm in between meetings. Sometimes, I just take an opportunity to do a social media post. The posting itself doesn't take time, but remember what I said about consistency. Okay, social media success requires branding, quality, consistency, saturation, multiple posts, as many as you can handle. Walking versus running, I always recommend running, and run in a nice healthy way here. Don't run like a lunatic. And then branding. Do not forget the branding. And please, please, please don't forget the importance of social media, because remember, it is free. It's free, free, free. And if you do it right and you do it well, you will succeed in all of your social media marketing endeavors.